Okay.
So, so he made me walk down those stairs, out the front door, close the screen door, down the front steps, all the way to the curb, turn around and walk back up the front steps, open the screen door, open the door, up the 2 flights of stairs, in the front door, close the front door, and over to his chair with the ottoman. And I had to do that 50 times. And it was a lesson to be learned, except one day I forgot. And then I had to do it 100 times. I never forgot after that. And then, of course, I got smart with my mouth sometimes, and they'd make me write, "I will not talk back to my parents." So we did that for a while until I learned. And then I went to a Catholic school in the 5th and 6th grade. In the 3rd grade, my mom decided to send me to a black school. And so we were sitting in class one day, and I didn't know this, but my teacher was doing this eeny, meeny, miny, mo thing. And she said, "Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the toe." And I popped up and I said, "No, teacher, that's not right. It's eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a nigger by the toe. If he hollers, let him go, eeny, meeny, miny, mo." I'll tell you what, for the next 3 weeks, I had black kids chasing me home for 6 blocks all the way, and I ran as fast as I could every day to get home and locked in my house because they were chasing me because I called them a nigger. So I never did that again either. I learned my lesson on that. On the rainy days when we lived in that apartment, we couldn't go outside. We'd go downstairs and we'd play, we'd make up a play. And of course, then the Southern people were quite a number that you could pick on. I don't know if it was because they were black or what, but because I was stocky, they dressed me in a checkered tablecloth, and they'd put a checkered band on my head, and they'd take cork and they'd burn it and put black all over my face and my ears and my neck and my hands, and cover me to my wrists with the shirts and the tablecloths, and put great big, make me look real buxom with pillows, and way fat with more pillows, and wrap ropes around me. And I was a man. And I had to do what I was told, because they told me that I was the very important part of the play. So we did the play, and it was down in this, it was in the basement, but they called it the cellar, because that was places where you would put your canned goods on the shelves, and each apartment had their own little space in there that they could lock up, like their own cupboard or whatever. And so we did that during the rain. And then we had a washing machine downstairs. And this is going back a little bit from about 8, probably about 4 years old, I think I was. And I was helping my mom. I really wanted to help her wash clothes. And they had these old tub washing machines with the wringer on top, where there was 2 rollers on top. One would go one way and the other one would go the other way. And no, they'd both go the same way, I think. Yeah, they would. They'd both go the same way, and you'd feed your clothes through it. And I told her I wanted to help, so she let me stand on a stool, and she gave me something flat like a pillowcase or a towel or something. And she said, "Here," and she showed me how to put it in. And so it was my turn, and I picked it up and I put it in the wringer, and I forgot to let go of the towel, and my hand kept going through the wringer all the way up to my shoulder, and they couldn't, because it was, my shoulder was bigger than the wringer got caught and it got stuck and it couldn't get undone. So she had to stop the washer and get help, and she finally snapped it open. And I was sore, but I wasn't hurt. But it was a lesson to me that you just don't, you don't stick your hand in the wringer. So I was telling Alan the story the other night, and what did you say, Alan, about the ringer? What was your comment?
You've literally been through the ringer?
Oh yeah, I've literally been through the ringer.
Yeah, you can say you've been through the ringer.
I can say that for sure. I've been through the ringer. So when I was 9 years old, my sisters had been born, and we went over to my grandma's house that lived at 719 Queen Avenue North, and her phone number was Jackson 79327, and she used a candlestick phone. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's round at the bottom with the dial and a big stick in the middle with a megaphone at the top you could talk into, and then you'd hang your earpiece that you'd listen to on the side of the top of the telephone part. They call it a candlestick phone. You can find it on the internet. And we'd go over there and we'd go to Grandma's house, and my Aunt Vi and Uncle Lori and Bruce and Sandy were all there for Christmas dinner with my Aunt Carrie and Idella Patton, who lived upstairs, and my mom and dad and me and the girls. And every time we went to Grandma's house, we would not only have a wonderful dinner, but we would play games. And one of the things that she would do would be to they'd put this big blanket between the bedroom and the bathroom hall, and on one side of the hall they would have people with prizes and things, dollies and toys and cars and things like this, and on the other side we had the fishing pole. And we put the fishing pole over the blanket, and we'd go fishing, and they'd stick something on the end of the pole. And then we'd pull it out, and we'd get, this dolly or a toy or a jump rope or jacks or something like that. But it was always just fun because we'd get 2 or 3 toys that we could play with while we were at Grandma's. And that just became a tradition that we did that. And when I stayed at Grandma Larson's, we'd play Uncle Wiggly, which is a game where you could learn to count to 100, and Chinese checkers, and I was always beating her. And what was the other one we played? Oh, this peg game where you had to put the peg you had to put 4 pegs, it's like 6 pegs on each side of a plus sign, and you had to get rid of all of them except one in the middle. And she could always do that, and I never could until I grew up. And then I was over at Cracker Barrel one day and I did it, and I was so excited. But then I was like about 60 that I finally got that done. But that was fun.
Take a drink, Mom.
So let me see. I guess questions, because I don't know what else you want me to remember. That's pretty.
I was wondering.
Huh?
I said I was wondering what her favorite childhood Christmas memory was, and what her favorite adult Christmas memory is, and any kind of Swedish stories.
Yeah, and family, sure.
I don't remember a lot of Swedish stories, except that when I was at my grandma's, she was always sewing aprons, and when she changed that pattern, she was sewing like clothes and stuff for doll clothes and clothes for me, and she always tell me belonged to a little Indian girl. And whenever my Aunt Carrie and my grandma would talk, they'd always talk in Swedish, and I'd ask them what they meant, what were they talking about, and they would reply by some words that meant none of my business. And also, they'd call me Lilla Flicka, which means little girl in Swedish. I didn't know too much Swedish, but they told me that they had relatives over there and cousins and things like that, and that they came across the seas. I'm not sure that Grandma lived in Sweden or Denmark, but she said she was Swedish, and the Solon family came across the seas when she was a little girl. So we have to check the records for that.
My mom was Swedish.
Huh?
She was born.
And then my grandfather, he also came from Sweden, and have never searched that out either. So
They're both full-blood Swedes because their parents were from Sweden.
Yeah.
They were born in the United States. So you are full Swede.
Okay.
You're half Swede, actually. No, you're full Swede.
She's full Swedish.
You're full
Her parents
Swede.
were.
And your parents were full Swedish. And their parents were full Swedish. And that's where it starts to be immigrants from.
How can my mom be full Swede?
Because she was from Swedish parents.
Not my mom. My mom's parents came from Dutch. They were Dutch. They were from Deutschland
Germany?
or Denmark. We're not sure. We can't.
What's the name? Which name?
The name was Jewel. When they were over there in that country, that was Juel. When they got on the passage to come here, they changed it to Jewell, and we could never find the connection.
What was the first name?
I don't know what the first name was. I have to search that out going backwards. I know that Fenimore and Rosie were their parents, and Lester and can't remember his name. Lester was
Lester William Jewell.
was my grandfather, and he married Mabel Grace Warner.
That's right.
And those are your mother's parents?
My mother's
Yes,
parents.
That's correct.
My mother's parents, and Grace. No, it's not Grace. It's Martha Roselthia Warner, Hasty Warner. Captain John Henry Hasty goes back like 4 or 5 generations, 6 generations. And Captain John Henry Hasty was in the Civil War, I think.
I think that's right.
And then their daughter was Martha Roselthia Hasty, who married David Mark Warner, who became Martha Roselthia Warner. And then she had Clinton and Bert and Grace Warner, and then they went off and did their thing. And Gracie's children were Josephine first, and then my mother, and then David. So when that picture that you saw with Great Grandma Warner holding, you thought was my mother, it was Josephine. This is really funny. When my mother grew up, she was skinny as a rail, like Tammy, and she got heavier after she had her kids. My Aunt Jo was stocky all the years that she grew up, and when she had kids, she got skinny as a rail.
Really?
It was really funny how that happened. And my Uncle Dave was a meat and potatoes man. He wouldn't eat anything else, just meat and potatoes. So he finally had repercussions from that kind of a diet when he got older. So let me see. At 9 years old, my
Do you
dad,
remember any Swedish foods?
huh?
Do you remember any Swedish foods?
Yeah, Ebbelskiver.
What is it?
Ebbelskiver is a round pancake that you put jelly in the middle of. Ebbelskiver, Ebelskiver.
Who used to make them?
Yes, I did.
I said who?
I did.
Who made them for you?
Who made them for me? I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
I know I liked them better than pancakes. They were easier to make. We used to turn them with a knitting needle. A long knitting needle.
I remember Aunt Barbara making lefska.
Yeah,
That was-
that's something that they might have made.
Lefsa?
Yeah. There's some things that Grandma made that I didn't know the names of that was good. I remember that I thought it was really big to have coffee, quote, postum, with my grandma because I was so grown up. And she said if I was a good girl, I could have some of her postum, realizing it was not coffee, it was a drink made of molasses. And, but we had a lot of good times together. She had 2 lilac bushes in the backyard that were huge. And I always liked to go out and play underneath those lilac bushes. she had a garden behind them, and she'd have all kinds of fruits in them. My favorite, or vegetables, and my favorite one was picking the rhubarb. I'd go out and pick sticks of rhubarb and come in and peel them and eat them. And they were so sour. Some of them were sweet, but most of them were really sour. And then we had a little dog out our backyard that belonged to the Pattons next door, and he was a fire chief in town. And the dog's name was Tippy, and every time I came to the house, he'd scamper down that hill and scamper over to come say hi and play with me. Then there was 2 kids on the other side and 2 kids down the block that I would always go look for and play with when I was at my grandma's. There was a park not far from the golf course, and I can't remember the name of it now. But we would go down there and take our bottles and get water from the spring. And Aunt Carrie and Grandma and I would drive down in Aunt Carrie's old car, and we'd go down there and we'd get bottles of water from the spring, and that water was so good. And then Grandma would keep a rain barrel right outside the door so that she could catch the rainwater to water her flowers. How are we doing on?
Still recording.
Well,
You want to take a little break and then check the capacity and see how much we've used?
We can do that.
You want to take a quick break and take a drink? All right, let's stop it for a moment.